For today, guys, I'm gonna show you and teach you on how you will access your fuel pump, fuel filter, floater valve, and etc. The reason why is because you should be able to replace or clean basically and check out what's wrong with your fuel system, just in case you experience like if you gas up, let's say after 30 to an hour, the sensor or the level of your gasoline on the gas bar still doesn't increase. You might want to check your floater valve, the floater itself, and the sensor. Okay, you may also want to do this if you want to replace your fuel filter, which needs to be replaced every 3 years. 3 years or 30,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Your fuel filter needs to be replaced. Okay. What else? Okay, so just in case you encounter that the engine stalled, it doesn't start up. You've checked that there's spark coming out of your spark plug. The vacuums are working correctly, the compression is there, then check on your manifold if there's fuel coming out. If there is, make sure that the fuel coming out has a strong pressure. If not, the pressure might not be strong enough for that to reach the injectors on your engine. So if that's the case, you might want to check the fuel pump itself. Okay. And right before we begin, guys, just a word of caution. When doing this, please be very extra careful as the fumes on the gasoline tank will be exposed. So do not smoke. If you see somebody smoking, please do this on a very controlled environment, not directly in the sunlight. No smoking, and anything that could generate a spark, please be very extra careful. Okay. All right, so first thing that you want to do is you want to remove the back seat of your Hyundai Eon. I've already removed that, and I do have a separate video for that one, which I will link on the description box below. After removing your back seat, we'll then be removing some parts to be able to access the fuel pump, fuel filter, the floater assembly on the gas tank.
A few moments later.
First thing that we will need to do is remove the cover that is in between your assembly and the gas tank. This is actually just a cover. You would still need to remove some screws underneath it. The reason why we have this, and if you notice, there are insulators or insulation around it. Why? This is actually a safety feature that um, helps the passengers inside, just in case that there will be fumes that might escape from the gas tank, and vice versa. Okay, and just be careful with the insulation because we want to retain that seal after we return the cover. Okay. And you'll notice that this part is dirty. That's normal because we don't always access this part. And aside from that, um, this is what we consider a hard to reach area. Okay, now let's remove the um, one of the terminal. This terminal is actually the one feeding the information on the computer box. And then next thing to be done would be remove the hoses on the assembly itself, and let's remove this one, and then let's remove the other one. This is fairly easy to do if you have the proper tools, and of course if you have the time. And just in case, or just to avoid any confusion, all right, so in order for you to remove the cable um, right at the front, all you need to do is just use a Phillips screwdriver, insert it like this, and push the lock inside. You should be able to remove it like so. And then the hoses, just give it a little twist like that, just to loosen that up. And okay, there you go. Okay, so now the cables are, or the hoses are out. All we need to do now is remove the nuts. Okay, now let's remove the cover. And there should be a ring, a gasket, which is this guy. Okay, all right, and let's try to pull out the assembly, shall we? I just filled up my gas yesterday, so gas is a bit full. My apologies. So just be careful. Okay. All right. And so don't do this when your gas is full. Let me just there you go. So this is the assembly that has still gasoline in it. So this is your floater, the sensor. I'll show it to you guys. So this is the floater, that one, the sensor, and then the fuel filter, which is this, and the fuel pump, which is in the middle. I will just be creating a separate video on how to dismantle this assembly. Basically just remove the clips, and yeah, I'll just create a separate video for that one, guys. I just showed you on how to disassemble the fuel assembly, and yeah, that's basically it. So if you're having problems with the delays on your fuel level, this might be the problem, or the float itself. Okay, because this is the one that indicates the level, like that. All right, So I'm gonna return this bad boy. Again, this is the filter. This is the filter. That's the fuel pump. And you can see, guys, I have a lot of gasoline right there. Let me just see if I can make this. There you go. Okay, so I'll just return this. I'll create a separate video on how to basically replace the fuel filter, because I don't need to remove or replace my fuel filter yet. Yeah, I'll just create a separate video for you guys for that one, but it's pretty easy and straightforward. I'll just be returning the assembly. And of course, right after we do this, we'll be testing everything first. Right. Just to be sure that everything is working. Okay. Alright, and once everything is hooked, just return the nuts, maybe just one, just to hold the cover in place. It would be easier for you to work on it. Again, tighten it by hand. We don't want to mess up any of the threads, especially on this area. Yep. Maybe next time, guys, I promise I'll create a video on how to basically replace the fuel pump and the fuel filter. I don't find any use for me to disassemble the assembly if I'm not gonna replace it. Okay. The reason why is I replaced mine around on the 3rd year, I believe. So when tightening, guys, make sure that you go around the nuts equally, just to be sure that everything is tight like that. Okay, no need to use too much pressure or force. Now let's return the hoses. And this is actually a perfect time for you to inspect the hoses for any damages, physical damage. in that case. Then lock this bad boy up like that. And then return the clips to secure the hoses. Okay. And this one. And last but not the least, the socket. The last piece. There you go. And the cover. Make sure you push this correctly because we want to retain the seal. And that's how you do it. And of course, every DIY, right before I return the back seat, let's go ahead and test it. Okay. All right, so floater is working, as you can see. And let's see if the fuel pump works. Perfect. All right, so I have a lot of insulation in my arms because of the gasoline that overflowed. It made the insulation soft. And don't worry. Okay, so it's working perfectly fine. All right, guys, so that's how you remove the fuel filter assembly, the fuel pump. Um, if you find this video useful, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and check out my playlist. If you want to see the actual dismantling of the fuel pump, the fuel filter, maybe if you can help me guys reach 2,000 subscribers, I'll go ahead and do it for you. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, guys. Again, this is Mark. See you on the next video.